I can do a little bit better as far as the utilization of this microphone this time around, because I think we could all agree that last time getting used to this microphone was no easy task. So anyway, I went on vacation. I'm thinking I'm gonna add the B-roll of the vacation clips at the very beginning of this video thing. So you will probably already have seen that. I did go to the beach and I took Vincent with me, which was why I didn't actually film anything at the beach. So as it turns out, trying to go on vacation with a bunch of small children and a baby is a lot more stressful than people let on. And I still had a great time. We still had a fantastic time. But I think we're going to hold off on any long road trips until Vincent gets quite a bit older. Yes. Trip down was great. He was wonderful. But I think on the trip back, he had some kind of tummy issues. And he was so sick and tired of being in that car seat. And I don't blame him. But he was miserable. And that made the rest of us miserable. And it just was not a good time. But while we were down there, we had a lot of fun. Shout out to my sister and my brother-in-law for renting essentially a beach house. It wasn't right on the beach, but it was close enough and it was gorgeous and we just had a good time. Also, we got to gift my mother with the experience of petting a penguin and being up close to one. We actually got to be up close to 2 different penguins, but one of them decided he didn't want to participate. So the other one was much more excited. And we got to see penguin art being created. It was superb. But now we're back home. It is essentially the beginning of August. I have not finished a single book. I am still working on Shadow of the Gods by John Gwynne. I'm about halfway through, give or take. It's going very well. It is a very beautifully written book. The characters are wonderful. I'm just not in the mood. And I'm kind of thinking I'm in a reading slump or something, because when I think about reading any of my books right now, I'm just not in the mood. I'm just not in the mood for anything. And I think part of that is sleep deprivation. Vincent has not been sleeping well through the night lately, which means I haven't been getting hardly any sleep. My partner hasn't been getting hardly any sleep. It's just been rough. The beginning of this month has been rough, but it's okay. Life is still grand. Life is still great. This book will count towards my goal. If you watched any of my previous reading vlogs, you know that I have set forth a goal for myself to read 10 books before I'm allowed to purchase one. And the reason I'm doing it that drastically, or trying to, is because my physical TBR that has not been read is daunting. Well over 100 books. Well over 100 books that I've not read. So in order to catch up, and I know, do we ever really catch up? No. But in order to even try to keep it within the realm of reason, I want to try to stick to this goal so that I can try to lessen the amount of books sitting on my shelf that haven't been read. And to free up some shelf space, because if I read a book and I DNF it, don't vibe with it, or know for a fact that I'm never going to read it again, I either sell that shit to Half Price Books or I donate it. That's it. And getting some of these books out of rotation would be good. So, frees up more shelf space. We love that. Anyway, that's all I have. I'm back at work, which sucks if we're just being honest, because 4 uninterrupted days with my toot and my family was so nice. So lovely. But here we are. And, you know, I can't complain because, you know, we got to pay bills, got to pay to live, all the things. I hope you guys are living your best life and enjoying the last little bits of summer. I am so ready for fall. I'm a fall girly. I'm a fall girly. I even have a pet black lab. Can we just acknowledge the simple fact that every single bookish fall obsessed, Halloween obsessed girly owns a black lab? Have we noticed this trend? I didn't even mean to be a part of the trend, okay? I came into owning my black lab by pure happenstance, and his name is Reaper, and he's huge. He's the biggest dog I have ever had, and I love him to death. He thinks he's the size of a chihuahua, which causes some problems and concerns with the baby, as we all know, and he's very unaware of people's personal space. But you know what? I love that little dog, big dog, little big dog, so much. I'll check back in later when I have something worth saying. Hello. It's been a hot minute since I did any filming at all. Reading update, I finished The Shadow of the Gods by John Gwynne. I loved it. The book ended in a very interesting way, kind of a cliffhanger in some ways, but I'm very excited for the second one. You guys, like, this is honestly the first fantasy series that I have ever read that is not centered around romance, and it's more of like an epic adventure type fantasy, and I've never read anything like this before, and I was really worried that it wouldn't be able to keep my attention or my interest, but it's been awesome. So there's that. I am still working on this book, Demons, The Devil, Possession, and Exorcism by Anthony Finlay. It's technically a nonfiction, but it's more like theological, historical type stuff. So that's pretty interesting. I've been tabbing it, as you can see. Yeah, so how far are we? We're on page 135. I would say roughly halfway through. And I did start a new book. And so now we have this. To be fair, I tried to read this book. Oh, I think I hit my mic. To be fair, I think I tried to read this book at some point last year because I had a bookmark in it, but I only got past the very first intro chapter. I wouldn't even call it a full chapter because it was very short. So I'm not entirely sure what happened there. I think maybe I picked it up and just really wasn't in the mood for horror, so I ended up putting it down and switching to something else. But lately I've definitely been in the mood for horror, so I'm yay far in, about 105 pages in. This is my first Stephen Graham Jones read, which is such a shame because I've been hearing his name everywhere. I have several of his books that have just been chilling on the shelves for a while, but I've heard that this one is very good. I've also heard that a lot of people say they didn't like it. Definitely an interesting style of writing. Sometimes it almost feels like I'm reading a stream of consciousness, which I think is the point, to really get you in the main character's head, so to speak. But it's a very interesting story so far. I am intrigued. I'm enjoying it. So far, I wouldn't say that it's super scary. It has some parts in it that are kind of eerie, which is fun, you know. But I am enjoying it, so I'm going to push through. Once I finish this book, I will only need to read 2 more books on my physical TBR before I can buy another book. And my partner and I were discussing it because, it varies on how long it takes me to read 10 books. Because I do have certain criteria I have to meet. They can't just be an easy, quick manga volume and then have that count. No. So we talked about it, and since I've been putting so much effort into reading 10 before purchasing a book, he thinks it would be a good idea to have the reward be 2 books. So I'm thinking about it because I do love buying books, and sometimes it's really hard to just pick one. I have several books that I want to purchase right now. I have a huge backlog on my Amazon wish list of books, so we'll see what happens. But yeah, I have 2 top contenders that I'm thinking of, so we'll see if those are still the top contenders whenever I actually get through the next 2 books. I am going to dive into work, and then hopefully I'll be able to take a nice long lunch break to knock out some of The Only Good Indians. So I think that was all I had. Well, hello. It is Tuesday, the 13th. Last night I ended up finishing The Only Good Indians by Stephen Graham Jones. Where did I read it? I've slept since then, but only barely. I gave it a 4-star. I gave it a 4-star. At the very beginning of that book, when I was reading it, I was having kind of a disconnect issue, kind of like I did when I read The House of 100 Whispers by Graham Masterton, because there's a lot of cultural phrases and words and just language, you know what I mean? Like, not a different language per se, but like the way the people on the reservation, the way the people in these communities were speaking to each other, about each other, the way even that they were thinking, because in this book you get a lot of internal dialogue going, which I enjoyed actually. It's very culturally based. So if you didn't grow up in that culture, if you're not accustomed to these phrases, these terminologies, it kind of goes over your head. And I dealt with a lot of that throughout this book, but at the same time, where this book differed from The House of 100 Whispers is that you get enough internal dialogue, you get enough character insight, as if you are truly seeing things through their eyes or through their mind's eye, that you're able to immerse yourself past the confusion, if that makes any kind of sense. You're kind of able to understand what they're saying, even though you don't fully comprehend, if that makes sense. I know I sound a little off. Sleep is still, I was able to sleep more last night, but lately it's like the more I sleep, the more tired I actually am. And I'm like, this shit is not okay. But anyway, I went into my TBR cup last night. I didn't film it because I was exhausted and didn't feel like it. And my next prompt is YA fantasy. And the reason I included that prompt is because lately I have been doing everything within my power to avoid reading any of my YA fantasy. I've actually had this particular book sitting on my shelves for probably going on 2 years now. I used to subscribe to Owl Crate when I first got back into reading, because I was like, yeah, I might as well start with like YA, like easy to read books, right? And I hated most of them. But this book came in Owl Crate, and it's so beautiful, and I just didn't want to let go of it. It doesn't necessarily sound like something I will love, but it does sound interesting. And that is A Forgery of Roses by Jessica S. Olson. And can we just take a minute? How pretty. How pretty. And look at this. Look at that. That's just so pretty. And there is a reversible cover in here. I'm not going to show it to you guys because honestly I don't like the reversible covers. I really don't. But yeah, beautiful dark red sprayed edges. We love that. So I'm going to start that today if I get a chance. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I haven't spoken enough about The Only Good Indians by Stephen Graham Jones. It's so... There were parts of the book that I was just like, ugh, about, right? But at the end, it wrapped up so uniquely. It was so distinct. It was so different from anything else I have ever read. And the way that he writes is so different from anything else that I've ever really read. It was awesome. And I am looking forward to reading more books by him. I have more books of his on my shelves that I have not read. I wanted to start with The Only Good Indians because I have heard that it is one of his best. And I can see that. I can definitely see that. But anyway, I gotta dive into work. I will check back in with you guys later if I'm able to take any reading breaks today. Yeah. Okay, it's Wednesday. Yesterday I managed to actually finish A Forgery of Roses by Jessica Olsen. Was that the author's name? I don't remember. Okay, so I did not do any B-roll of me reading that book. I don't know why. I just didn't. But it was a very quick read. It was... I say that. It wasn't the fastest read ever, but the pacing was really great. The story was interesting. The characters were interesting enough to keep me going. Overall, the book itself was nothing to like gush about, but it was interesting, and there were enough twists and turns that kept you like wanting to continue the story. It wasn't ever really boring in my opinion, but it also wasn't super memorable. There weren't parts of it that, you know, I'm gonna dream about and think about years from now. Was not a 5-star read, but I honestly can't tell you why, other than the fact that it just wasn't super memorable. As far as YA fantasy goes, it's pretty standard. The writing was great. I do feel like there was some uniqueness to it. There were some dark undertones to the story that I really appreciated because I prefer my fantasy to go a little on the dark side. But yeah. So I am now one book away from reaching my goal of reading 10 books and then purchasing 2 or 1, depending on how much that one costs. So last night I chose another topic from my TBR cup, and it was Kindle, to read something off of my Kindle. Yes, I have a Kindle. Also, look at my cute Kindle stickers. If you know, you know. And then of course, this morning has been a little hectic for work. It's one of the busier days at my office, so I may or may not get any chance to read, but I am down to a choice because I have perused my limited Kindle library, and I am just not in the mood to read any of it. I'm not in the mood to read any of it. I don't have any horror on there. Most of what I have on my Kindle is like questionable books that are super smutty and super cringy that I got for free on Stuff Your Kindle Day. Some of them might be decent, but I am assuming most of them are probably gonna suck. And I'm just not in the mood to test the waters in that genre today. I would rather read horror or nonfiction. So I am in the middle of my demon book. Demonology, what is it called? Demons. I am literally about in the middle. Hello. And I am annotating it. So I might just continue annotating today because that will count for my last book to read. And then I can pick a new book to annotate. But I might take a break from reading nonfiction because I did actually put a topic in the TBR cup of read a book that you also want to annotate, which is my nonfiction. And I have another topic in there that is strictly just like true crime and nonfiction. So there are a lot of opportunities for me utilizing the TBR cup to read nonfiction, and I'm kind of getting a little burnt out with trying to read more than one book at a time. So I think what I might do is go ahead and finish annotating this book, take a break from annotating, and just focus on using my TBR cup, because I'm actually having a really fun time doing that. It's keeping my reading fresh and interesting. And up until I got this topic with the Kindle, I didn't really get bored with it. But I am thinking I might change my topic and put the Kindle one back in there, because I don't want to buy any Kindle books right this second. And there's just not any books on my Kindle that I really want. So I'm thinking I'm gonna choose a different topic tonight and go from there. But that means that I need to focus on finishing this book either today, tomorrow, what have you. I would like to try to finish this book before the weekend, so that I can potentially go and purchase my 2 books as my little reward to myself this weekend. But we will see. Anyway, I hope you guys are living, laughing, and thriving. I'm gonna sit here and drink the rest of my Starbucks because yes, I have a problem, and get some work done. Yep. Welcome back. It's Friday. I don't really remember where we left off with this week, but it's been a little bit of a crazy week, needless to say. But you know what? It's Friday. We treated ourselves for making it through the week, because we should just be proud of that, you know? I honestly do not know where I left off. Anyway, I have one more book to get through before I can get my reward, which is to purchase 2 books now instead of just 1. I cleared that with my partner. And I was having a hard time. I originally picked Kindle for my next topic, but I did not have any books on my Kindle that I really wanted to read. And I didn't want to purchase any Kindle books. So I ended up choosing a different topic, which was summer vibes. And I don't honestly know what season a lot of the books I own take place in. Some of them are very obvious, you know, if they have wintry or fall themed covers. So I kind of just based it off of cover, and if it ends up not necessarily taking place in summer, oh well. But this book for me just screams summer, especially down here in East Texas where I live, because like, especially at the beginning of summer, we just have nothing but thunderstorms and lightning storms, and it's just constantly raining. And then of course, you know, by the end of summer, we're in basically a drought because it just, there's never a balance here. It's either all or nothing. So this book is actually quite small. I am hoping to burn through it pretty quickly. But this book has a special little place on my shelves, even though it might honestly suck. I don't know if it's good or not. I haven't read it. But whenever I first started getting back into reading and going to bookstores again and really just like feeding that part of myself that I had neglected for so long, I saw this book at like Walmart or some random place. And it just sounded so interesting, you know, at the time. And that was years ago. And it has literally sat on my shelf since then, being ignored for all these other books that, you know, everybody was talking about. I've never heard anyone talk about this book. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I don't know what to expect. I honestly have forgotten what it's about, and I kind of want to keep it that way. So I'm not going to read over the synopsis. I kind of have already dived in a little bit. I'm already on chapter 3. But that is Before the Devil Fell by Neil Olson. It's such a cute little book. Look how tiny this book is. But also this cover just really made me think of summer down here in East Texas, because we have like our overgrown grass, we have our lightning storms. At the beginning of this summer, we had so many storms in June. And even at the beginning of July, it was just so many storms. And now that we're in August, we're like fading off into drought mode. We haven't had a storm in a hot minute, and it's starting to show. So anyway, I will update you guys later once I've had a little bit opportunity to read, if I get an opportunity to read today. This week has been very busy, so we'll see. Yeah, other than that, we don't really have much going on in my life. Working, taking care of the baby, taking care of myself and my partner and my step kiddo. She starts school soon, I believe next Wednesday, and she's moving to a new school, so I know there's some nervous jitters there. So crazy to me, so crazy to me. Anyway, I will check back in with you guys later. Okay, we're gonna hope that this microphone is close enough to my face to catch audio. So I actually had a lot more downtime than I anticipated today. Not complaining, by the way, not complaining. But I managed to finish Before the Devil Fell by Neil Olson. This is just barely over 300 pages, so it's not like a super long read or anything. This is just like the cutest little book. It's like the size of my head. Maybe my head's big though, I don't know. This book was interesting. It was dark, but not like disturbing, if that makes sense. I would not necessarily classify this as a horror novel. I don't know if it normally is or not. I feel like this is more of a mystery that has paranormal, supernatural elements to it, you know? And there are some dark topics. There are some dark things that happen in the book. But like, it's not horror. It's a mystery and somewhat of a thriller. And I liked it. I normally do not try to read mysteries or thrillers. I only read books that are predominantly horror. Like, let's be real. A lot of these genres overlap in books. You don't necessarily ever find a book that has just one genre present. In fact, most horror novels have some element of mystery or thriller to them, with, you know, the tension that is built, and, you know, you're kept in the dark about a lot of things until the end. That's just how books roll, usually. But I do like my books to be predominantly horror. I like that to be the main element that we're focused on. But this was fun. This was fun. It was super fast paced. It kept me very intrigued. Some of the characters were kind of irritating at times, but I still had a lot of fun with it. I don't feel like this is going to be a book for me that I will reread in the future, so I will probably unhaul it at some point, but it was a fun time. That's really all I can say about it. I'm not one to really go through synopses of books. So like, if this book looks interesting to you, then just look it up on Goodreads. I am on Goodreads. I post my reviews that are usually very vague because I hate, you know, putting spoilers unless I just really have to rant about something. But this is one of those books that I hate to say it because it sounds mean, but it is kind of forgettable. It's not going to be a book that, you know, shocks or wows you per se. I mean, and that's not me saying that I know how it's going to make you feel, but it's one of those books that's just super fun. It's entertaining, which is the point of books. But it's some books are more heavy hitting emotionally and stay with you longer, and this just wasn't that for me, but it could be for you. I don't know. But it was fun. It was a cozy little read that felt perfectly spooky and did in fact take place somewhat in summer. It kind of takes place in that sweet spot of when summer turns into fall during the story, so that was kind of nice. But other than that, I don't really have anything else to talk about. I'm very excited that I have stuck with my goal of finishing 10 books before purchasing any other books. I did not think I would be able to do it. I really didn't. I'm going to continue on with this goal. My partner and I agreed that instead of just like purchasing one book for every 10, I can actually purchase 2. But I do want to give it a bit of a think, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to be very impulsive with my purchases anymore, especially when it comes to books, because my physical TBR has gotten so out of control. I'm trying to break away from the very like consumer mindset, because it's just like, it's getting a little too much, you know what I mean? Like, other things should take priority over material possessions, and that includes books. And a lot of the times, like, you know, back when I had a million different book subscription boxes coming in and always purchasing just random cover buys and stuff like that, I ended up with a lot of books that I didn't necessarily like. And no offense, but that's kind of what this one is too. Like, I did enjoy this, but I'm not going to reread this for years to come. It doesn't need a place on my shelves, you know? This book didn't change my life. If I had never read it, then nothing would be different. You know what I mean? I want to try to be more selective with the books that I physically purchase, because A, it saves on space, B, it saves on money, and overall, I'm just trying to break out of that mindset of just, I have to buy things to feel better. But yeah, definitely trying to get a healthier mindset when it comes to finances and budgeting. I have a lot of things I want to do with my life, things I want to do for my son and my stepkid. There's things I want to do, in like the next few years even. Trips I want to take, things I want to do that require money, and if I am spending every spare dime I have on books that I may or may not even like, then that's just taken away from, you know, trips that I know I'll enjoy and stuff like that. So anyway, I have blabbered on enough for today. I don't know how long this vlog is going to be. I know that I have really not been doing well the past couple of vlogs with doing B-roll and having like more calming read along with me moments, and I want to actually include more of that and less of me just talking, because I personally like vlogs like that more. So yeah, I'm thinking about adding a few videos here and there too, talking about different horror movies, but to be honest, with a baby, I don't get out to see most horror movies. And I have to wait for them to stream, and even then it's a big ordeal to even be able to see them because, hello, we have kids in the home most of the time, and it's just really hard to get any time with just me and my partner to where we can just sit and watch that. Anyway, that's it for this week. I probably won't be able to vlog over the weekend. We have a very busy weekend, and I work on call, so we'll see what we talk about. But I will update you on my next read when I figure out what that's gonna be. Hello. It's Monday, what's today? 19th of August. It's been a hectic few days. I didn't do any filming over the weekend, obviously. I've been having a rough time this month, you guys. I've been having a rough time just being motivated to film at all. I'm not entirely sure why. We had my niece's birthday party yesterday. I got her a couple of spooky books. I'm going to feed that inner reader of hers and hope that it takes root, because let's face facts, reading is therapy. Today's been a little busy. Nothing too crazy yet anyway. But yeah, it's just one of those days where I just want to go home. I don't even want to go home. I want to go book shopping because I have officially reached my goal of reading 10 books. So I am now officially able to purchase 2 books, and I'm pretty set on one of them. I already know what one of them is going to be, but the other one I'm having a hard time with. I keep going back and forth between about 3 different books that I really want, and I don't really know why it is causing this much unrest in my brain, because we all know that these books that I buy are most likely going to be read a year from now. So I don't know why it's such a big deal about which ones get purchased first, but yeah. So I picked from, or rather I had my step kiddo pick from my TBR cup. I know I need to start filming that more often, like the process of like picking a topic. And she picked read a book that scares you, or that I think will scare me. And I have 2 authors on my shelves right now who definitely scare me, or the books that I have read by them in the past have definitely scared me. One is Anya Allburn, and so I decided to go with The Devil Crept In by Anya Allburn. I already started it. I'm about 60 pages in. Can I just say, fuck 98% of the characters in this book already. So like, we're starting off from the perspective of Stevie Clark, and he's a kiddo, you know what I mean? I can't remember exactly how old. He's like 10. I think he's 10. But anyway, his cousin and best friend, only friend, Jude, goes missing in the woods one day, and several days pass, kind of getting to that point where it's like, I think it's more, we're looking for a body at this point. And he's freaking out, you know. But we're starting to get hints here and there that there's more to these woods. There's something going on in these woods. It says on the back that Jude ends up coming back, I believe. Did he? I can't remember. Maybe that was a different book I was thinking about. Maybe he doesn't come back. But anyway, Stevie, this poor little 10-year-old boy who has some mental health issues. They're mentioned, but nothing is like solidified. This poor kid, he has such a sweet little disposition, and, you know, he's odd, as plenty of children are. He lives in a home with an abusive stepfather, a mother who does not protect him, an older brother who is at the very least emotionally and verbally abusive to him. Everyone in this small podunk piece of shit town is an asshole to him. And Jude was really his only friend. And even Jude sounds like kind of a piece of shit, if we're just being honest. So, like, I'm already upset. I'm already like, about this premise. And I really hope that Terry, who is the stepfather, gets some horrible, horrible shit thrown his way. I really do. Because, like, who... Before having a child, I could not fathom or understand how anyone could physically, emotionally, any of the ways. I could not fathom how anybody could hurt a child on purpose, like they wanted to. I just couldn't, it just doesn't compute in my brain. But now after having a child, it makes me homicidal to read about people like this. It makes me really just want to hurt them. Yes. I really want to hurt them for the kids' behalf. But anyway, that's what we will be reading today if we have any downtime. Yeah, it's surprising to me that like I finally am able to purchase a couple of books per the goal that I set on myself, and yet I'm just kind of chilling and taking my time with it. I thought I would be more like amped up to just purchase books immediately. But knowing that I can only purchase 2 at a time, it really makes me sit back and consider for longer periods of time than I normally would. So that's probably a good sign. That is probably a very good sign. Anyway, that's literally all the updates I have. I will update you guys later if I'm able to actually read some. So, yeah. Okay, so it's later in the day. I actually had quite a bit of downtime today. I was able to take a full lunch, all these things. So I got a lot read in The Devil Crept In by Anya Allburn. Look at that. Look at that. I'm like 80-some% of the way done. Less than 100 pages left. I don't really know what to say about this book right now. I have a splitting headache today. But can we just say that our main protagonist, Stevie, he's this 10-year-old kid. He has some mental health issues that are pretty obvious, but his family is such trash. His older brother is a sack of shit. His stepdad can eat a bag of dicks. And his mom is one of the biggest hypocrites. 98% of the characters in this book are complete trash human beings. And I'm starting to get a theme with Anya Allburn. This is 3 for 3 now, guys. This is 3 of her books that I have now read where over 95% of the characters in the story are trash human beings. In fact, this might be the first book where the main protagonist is someone who you empathize with and don't want to see get hurt. Like, you feel protective of them. They feel like a genuine good person. And that's because it's a 10-year-old kid. But yeah. As far as whether or not this book is legitimately scary, I'm kind of back and forth on it. Some of the themes are scary. Not to give too much away, because I don't want to give any spoilers away, but this book makes the concept of motherhood scary to me. But that's just my opinion. And you know, I still have around 70 some odd pages to go before the end of the story. But it's interesting. It's definitely interesting. There are some horrific elements to it, but it's not like it's not like deeply unsettling like I thought it was going to be. And like, you know, some of her other books have been. It's more, I don't know, I hate to call it adventurous in any form or fashion, but it almost has that feel, probably because your perspective is that of a child. And, you know, he sees things in a very different way from normal people. Normal. But that's all I'm going to say. I'm enjoying the book. I think it is very well written. But is it scaring me? Slightly disturbing me for sure. There's some very disturbing scenes. But I'm not like gonna lose sleep, if that makes sense. Anyway, that's my only check-in today, guys. I have such a bad headache. I am going to sign off and hopefully go home soon because I need a nap. Well, we have made it to Tuesday, which is wonderful. I ended up finishing this. The Devil Crept In by Anya Alburn. I don't know how I read this so fast. This book is almost 400 pages, so it's like, I don't know. I guess it was just really good. I'm not going to give it a 5-star because it wasn't like that level for me personally, but it was super well written. I'm trying to figure out, because I literally just finished it like a couple minutes ago. I'm trying to figure out if it legitimately scared me. I don't think it did. To be fair, I have not read a book that genuinely frightened me in a hot minute. And that's not to say some bullshit like I'm, you know, a hardened horror reader. No, it's not like that. It's just, for some reason, the books I have, the ones I have picked, just have not really been scaring me. To be honest, I tend to avoid the types of books that would probably scare me the most because those usually include body horror, and me and body horror have a love-hate relationship because I love to be scared, yes, but I don't like to be sick to my stomach, you know what I mean? And a lot of the times, books that include body horror just make me feel sick. They make me want to hug a toilet for a little bit. There's been a few, and a lot of the times these books kind of cross the line into extreme horror and stuff like that. I'm not a big fan of extreme horror or splatterpunk or things like that. This is not really my thing, and that's okay. I do have a couple of books on my shelves that are considered extreme horror that I have not unhauled. I do want to give them a try, but in the past I haven't been able to actually make it through the books because I get just really sick to my stomach over it. But anyway, this book was really good. The ending was not for the faint of heart, but I knew that it wouldn't be because this is Anya Alburn. This is 3 for 3 now that have not so pleasant endings, and I'm starting to feel a little Stephen King-ish with this author. You know what I mean? Like, our characters in these books just can't win for losing. You know what I mean? Like, they're just... Now, I'm not going to give any spoilers, but this book did not end as poorly as I had suspected it was going to. But it still ended not so great. But very interesting. There were a lot of questions that went unanswered, but I think that was the point of it, to kind of leave a little bit of mystery there. The epilogue was on brand for Anya Ahlborn. I definitely enjoyed this book more than Seed. But I still think The Shuddering, which was the first book I ever read by Anya Ahlborn, is still my favorite. And that's just because maybe the setting and the creature feature, which this has a level of creature feature to it. But there's more going on. There's something more going on that never really gets fully explained. But it was a good time. It was very entertaining. You do end up hating most of the characters, that's for sure. But it was a good time. It was a good time. I would definitely recommend this book if you enjoy supernatural horror that has like creature feature tones to it. But yeah, there's no simple answer provided at the end of this book. And most of Anya Ahlborn's books, I'm learning, are not feel good in the remotest sense. Which, you know, a lot of people say that if you choose to read horror, you're not looking for a feel-good book anyway. And I tend to argue that, because, like, I enjoy cozy horror just as much as this type of horror. You know what I mean? I enjoy a good spooky read that actually has a happy ending. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. I don't understand this mindset that horror has to always end very awfully. You know what I mean? I don't feel like that's the case. But anyway, I'm going to type up my review for this book, mark it down in my journal, and go about my day. I may end up ending this vlog here, just because I don't want to get started on another book, because we're almost at the end of the month already. I mean, it's technically only the 20th, so I might keep it going, but if I don't, just know that I appreciate every single one of you that watches. I know these vlogs are long and somewhat tedious, and y'all probably get tired of hearing me blather on about the books I'm reading, but you know what? This is just how I live my life, and I am grateful for those of you who interact. Yeah. So I hope y'all are all having a wonderful time, a wonderful summer. School starts back for most people this week or soon. And I'm very excited to start reading some spooky books heading into the fall season. I'm ready. I am more than ready. And I believe a Spirit Halloween has opened up near me, finally. So I will see if I could possibly do some vlogs of Halloween decor shopping and all that good stuff. So if I don't see you again during this vlog, then deuces.